What's up, guys? Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We are super excited to have you here on this very cold winter afternoon here in the South. And as always, we got the crew with us. We are short one man. Mr. D. Wayne, the champ, could not be with us today, but we do have Mr. Dawson. We do have Mr. Maniac. Fellas, welcome to the show.
How's it
Hey,
going, guys?
how's it going?
Man, I hope you guys are staying warm. Is all well in your life, in the warmth and all this stupid cold that we got going on right now?
Yes, yeah, it was pretty cold here in South Arkansas. I think it was 6 degrees this morning. A little too cold
Yeah,
for us.
Central Texas, it's cold too. It was nine degrees this morning as well. Here this morning, didn't have any moisture or anything, but it was definitely cold enough for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. It was -8, or not -8. It was 8 degrees with the wind chill here in New Orleans. So it doesn't usually happen, and I think I haven't seen snow but a handful of times, and we've already had snow twice this winter. So of course, nobody
Oh
tuned
wow.
in today to listen to us give the weather report. So let's just hop right into this show and start talking about the league. Man, we are quickly rolling through season 76, and before you know it, we're going to be in season 77. So let me go just back and present this kind of question to you guys. Looking back at weeks 13 through 15, I think we've only got one. Let's see here. Yeah, we only got one game left that's going to be played here tonight. So looking back at weeks 13 all the way through here at week 15, what was the must-watch game for you guys in those weeks? Maniac, we'll go to
Go ahead.
you. We'll go there. I'll start. I forget sometimes. I got to call out, and so we got some direction here. Maniac, what was your must-watch game for weeks either 13, 14, or 15?
Well, for week 13, it was actually, and I'm gonna kind of give myself I guess, a pat on the back here, if you would say. The Skins and Cowboys game, week 13, was a big game. One with that being, I believe, the first full game that my rookie backup quarterback was going to take hold of the team for the injured Dak Prescott. Big division game with the Redskins needing to win to keep ahead of the Giants. And it was just kind of a back and forth game and stuff. So that one to me for week 13 was big, obviously for myself, trying to keep in the division race and stuff for the playoffs. But when the Redskins and Cowboys play, it's always with Jennings. It's always seems like to be a close game. Things are going to happen. There's going to be some exciting plays and stuff like that in the game, and it definitely held up to the reputation because there was a lot of turnovers. There was some big plays by Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys. There was a couple of plays where Sharp looked like his quarterback and stuff was going to really take over the game and stuff, and he threw a pick. So Sparks, I'm sorry, I said Sharp. Sparks, it looked like he was going to get rolling, and then he kind of had a fall apart game kind of at the end. Couldn't get no points scored in the second half, and the Cowboys pulled it out with the rookie quarterback.
Um, we're going to talk about the Redskins here in just a little bit, so I'm going to kind of save my comments on the Redskins as we kind of break down what's going on with that team. But it is pretty impressive that Dallas rolled in there, and with their rookie quarterback starting, I know that you felt your season might have been over, but definitely, I think that rookie quarterback is showing some promise there, and who knows, a little quarterback controversy might be brewing down in the Dallas land. Dawson, what was
It's
your?
possible.
It is possible, especially in this salary cap age that we have here in the OMFL. Dawson, what was your game of the week or your game to watch in weeks 13, 14, or 15?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting if kind of reflect back onto it on the last few weeks. But week 13, what was one of the games that was kind of stuck out there was the Bears and Raiders. Outlaw was able to pull the upset, 24-20. And what was kind of interesting looking back on, the last few performances from Outlaw, since week 9, he has went 5-2. So, a nice job on Outlaw, getting the Bears ready, getting his, his elite quarterback Trubisky ready for the next season. Week 14, it was Battle of the South division, Jags versus Titans. That was pretty interesting to watch. It was a 1-point game. Brady edged out Jason, and that pretty much kind of settled the whole 3-way tie for the division on that one. I think Jason sitting at 6-8 now, so he's kind of on the outside looking in. And then week 15, I watched last night, Redskins Eagles. That was a very interesting game. I watched the last bit of it, and Redskins pulled off the win, won by 2 points, 15-13. So look for Redskins to try and grab that last wild card spot.
Yeah, that Week 14 game of the Jaguars and Titans is super interesting. I mean, you're talking about a 1-point game there, and some way, somehow, the Jaguars, bring their lucky rabbit's foot with them and come away with a victory. And again, it's interesting to hear you guys bring up the Redskins again, right? They come away after stumbling a couple of games there. They come away with a pretty massive victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I haven't talked a ton to Zip, who is our Eagles owner. I know that he had to walk away for a little bit because of work and moving, and then he was able to come back. I think this season has been a life type of issue for him. I think he's just been really busy. He hasn't been playing his golf games, and he's been off this season in the OMFL. But he really feels like next season he's going to be able to turn things around, I should say. And the Eagles were one of those top teams last season that's really taken a step back here in season 76. So hopefully, if the Eagles can turn things around and be back here for season 77, that's just going to make our league better as a whole. Let's talk about another team that has went through a very interesting change. So unfortunately, at the start of season 76, we lost one of our buddies here, Hude, who decided that he needed to leave. And so the Bengals, which is a team that's always been in the run-ins, won multiple championships here, were taken over by Cincyberg, who has went through a very weird change. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, he was one of those seasons that can compete. He pushed it really close, but just couldn't put it all together, whether it was Ducks and his Bills or whether it was other teams. Cincyberg couldn't seem to get over that hump. And then a couple of seasons ago, he got over the hump with the Patriots. Now he's taken over the Cincinnati Bengals. And my question that I want to present to you guys, and Dawson, I want to start with you. Are the Bengals possessing one of the, or if not, let's just say, is he possessing the best offense that we've ever seen in the OMFL to date here in season 76?
Yeah, I guess I want to say the best ever, but he does got he can really argue about that question there. Just the way the numbers he's been putting up the last 3 seasons, when he was in Patriots, the last 2, and then now over in the Bengals. Got to give Cincy props on the way he's been playing this past season. And his team his offense is just number one in ranked first in the passing yards, total yards, points. He's averaging 32 points a game. I barely averaged half of that. Off of the other stats in Daddy's League, he's kind of ran a 2 quarterback system. Kind of went with Matt Ryan in the first part of the half season, and now he's kind of leaning on to Devon Arnaud. Right now he's got right at almost 2,400 passing yards. Devon does, and he's got 2 receivers, 2 top targets. Already well over 1,000 yards receiving. Both of them with a rookie, Cole Buckley. Already have 95 receptions, and still got 2 more games left. Then you got the speedster John Ross. He's got 36 receptions, so he's kind of that deep threat that Cincy can use in random times of the game. And his offense is still is ranked top 10. He's got Bernard averaging 8.2 yards per carry on just 120 rushing attempts. So nonetheless, he does have a top offense, and I guess you can argue it is the best offense that we have seen so far. But he just got put out to a top notch, and he's just steadily going on, treading on with the way his passing is.
Maniac, do you think this is the best offense we've ever seen?
As far as I've seen, yes, it very well may be the best ever from OMFL. I don't know some of the years past, but he's put up over 6,000 yards already on offense. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. He's got solid running game, passing game. He's got over 30 passing TDs and 23 rushing TDs. Just crazy numbers. And talking about some of his players and stuff, the Buckley kid that I had a chance to pick this guy up and I passed him because, yeah, he was a little slow. But, I mean, he's just phenomenal. He's just dominating. And now I'm kind of on the edge of my seat going like, I passed this guy. And, and a lot of teams did. But he just made him into a superstar there in Cincy. And then his other wide receiver, John Ross, he's averaging over 30 yards per catch. That's crazy. It's insane. 36 catches, 10 touchdowns. When he's on the field, he's looking for the juggernaut. He's looking for the throat cut, and he's going with it with Ross. And his defense is not too bad. There is a couple of stats I will throw out, though. One stat bring up is he's 76% in the red zone. So he's got a really good red zone offense. And but I know we're talking about offense, but to me, defense wins championships. And compared to that, 86% red zone D, giving up TD. So if you get it in the red zone, you're going to probably more likely score against him. So he's got to throw up big numbers to stay ahead. And but I think I think his yards are already like 6,000 and something. He very well may push 7,000 total yards before the end of the season if he has some gigantic numbers on those last 2 games.
Dawson, I want to throw this out there, and I want both of you to talk about this, but I want you to go first. Do we worry about the 42-14 drumming of the Seattle Seahawks of those Bengals? I mean, I know that he's done some quarterback swapping since then, but really and truly, Matt Ryan struggled that game. The offensive line was not able to get any rushing lanes going. When we think about the best offense that we have to offer, you also have 2 quarterbacks who've thrown almost, I think Matt Ryan has 23 and the other guy has 17. So you're talking almost 40 plus interceptions, or right at 40 interceptions between both of those quarterbacks. Do we worry about that Seattle Seahawks game?
Yeah, I mean, it is something to at least watch out for and just to be concerned. During that game, Mo's defensive line was just, he was just, just attacking the line and forced Ryan 2 interceptions. I think he had over 9 sacks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even, I think only 1 or 2 of those were user sacks. So it wasn't any like instant sheds or anything like that. I'm not sure if since he was going with Ryan at that time, maybe he had a different philosophy, starting off the season, and that kind of changed, the way he was running, passing and running the ball. But it is something it does stick out there, and it should, be it could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. But that's a little too far to look ahead to. But it is something to look at and at least be worrisome of it.
Maniac, do you worry about that game?
I do, and I think it's in the back of his mind because he did get thrashed in that game, and he couldn't perform his on offense what he wanted to do in that game and stuff. And Mo there in Seattle has got a phenomenal defense. He's top 3 in the league for his red zone efficiency on defensive wise. So. And that's a big thing to me because, guys can get down the field all they want. They can have all the yards they want. But in the red zone, you stop them in the red zone, you can win games. And Mo is that type of guy on defense, and I think that really affected Cincy. He didn't have the big play in that game that he's kind of accustomed to, and I think it just really, really hurt him in that game. And I think it's in the back of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, McDowell had 6 sacks that game, which brings me to the only part about this offense that I don't like. I do think that they're very powerful. I don't think they're the best ever. And the reason I say that is the 40 interceptions and the fact that this line is not very good. I don't know how he's averaging the 8+ yards a carry because you're talking about an 86 overall left tackle, an 80 left guard, a 89 center, which is pretty good, a 79 right guard, and an 83 right tackle. Not the worst that you've ever seen, but also not the best. And they evidently clearly can be dominated as the Seattle Seahawks did. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get into the playoffs and the big boys really start fighting this team to see what happens. Let's kind of progress on as we do get a little closer here to the playoffs. Matter of fact, by the next time we do our next show, we should be either right at the playoffs and give some predictions or just about to enter the playoffs and we give predictions on the next show. I want to talk about just a look back at season 76 as we get really close to wrapping things up. And I want to present this to you. Maniac, I want to start with you. Who has been, in your opinion, the most complete team in the OMFL?
By far, it has to be Mo and the Seahawks. I think Dwayne is a good second, but Mo and those Seahawks, man, the defensive juggernaut that he has there, shutting people down. Turnover ratio is one that is the top in the league. He has 26 plus 20 in turnover. Top 10 in offense, over 5,000 yards, 30 points a game. And then again, talking one of my points about I just brought up with Cincy and stuff when he played, but red zone D, one of the best in the league, 72% efficiency, stopping the other team when they're in scoring position. That's huge. Again, like I said, that's huge to me, and I think that just really speaks volumes about his team, especially with the pass rush. And like you said, he doesn't even use the guys. I mean, he just puts them out there and they take off and they go, and they're in the backfield causing havoc. And when you got a team like that, it's hard to go against Mo and say that somebody else has the most complete team. In my book, Seahawks are number one.
Yeah, that's a tough argument to not make. I mean, that team is dominant in every aspect. Mo's always had a great defense. He's always had a very powerful offense, and he seems to have put it all together here in season 76. Dawson, in your opinion, though, who is the most complete team in the OMFL?
Yeah, there's a few candidates that will run off, especially in the season 76. Of course, you got the Falcons. They're sitting 13-1. They had to slip up versus the Bucks in Week 10, but he went back to his winning ways and even got some revenge against the Bucks in Week 12. Then you got Mo and the Seahawks. He just got everything clicking right now. The defense is top notch. He got a solid win over the Bengals in Week 9, like we just talked about. He even won the NFC West division last year, so he hasn't looked back since then. And he's already in. We're going into Week 16 next few days, and he's getting ready to compete for that first or second seed in the playoffs. Then of course, you got to add in the Bengals. Their only loss is to the Seahawks, but you can never count them out in the game. You can lose. You can be ahead by 30, and you still got to watch out for him to come back. Looking back, even the times when he was in New England, just for this Madden, he's only lost 4 games this Madden. So that's pretty impressive nonetheless. So you got to add him to in the candidates. And you might can even add Cowboys. Just from what they've been doing without their star quarterback. Dak went down, and he's been playing, just been going along with undrafted rookie quarterback. So that's pretty impressive as well. But in the end, I want to agree with Maniac. Seahawks are just top notch right now. They're top 5 in points, while also being ranked first in points allowed. One of the biggest questions we have for Seattle is can they win in the playoffs? Even he's mentioned it in the main chat that that's his downfall. But it'd be interesting to see how far he can go in this year's playoff.
Yeah, I think again that's a very tough team to not argue towards. I'm surprised that nobody went the Falcons or the Bengals. Like you said, the Bengals have only lost 4 games complete this Madden, and the Falcons are already always up there and always one of the most complete teams from top to bottom. I do think that the Seattle Seahawks might be the most complete team, but it's interesting that the team that we all agree may be the most complete team did fall to those Falcons as the one loss that the Seattle Seahawks have. And the Falcons are a tough team to understand. I mean, uh, he's had a couple of lucky chances here lately. He got off the hook with me where I had him last night. He knows I love him, but he also knows that game was over. I had him. I was up by 14. I was on the 4 yard line at the start of the fourth quarter, about to score again. And then he also, from what I understand, had a game like that against the Cardinals, possibly, or somebody like that, where he was losing late and had a DC, and according to the rules, got a restart and played much better in the second half. So the Falcons have been a little lucky, but still they beat what we feel like is the most complete team. So I know that the NFC playoff picture is going to be super intriguing, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens if those two teams meet up again, because I think we all kind of expect that to happen. But don't count the Cowboys out, don't count the Giants out. I know both of those teams are going to be looking to play spoiler. So we're kind of wrapping things up, and we've got some close races. Now, since we've created this agenda, the races have tightened up just a little bit more than what they were a few days ago. But still, um, there are some really super tight races out there. So I want to kind of talk about a couple of these and give you guys an opportunity to take your pick. We'll go Maniac first. We'll go Dawson second. So here's your first one. AFC West, take your pick. Kansas City or Oakland?
I'm going with Oakland. I know. I think I a couple weeks ago I had put them out, down and out and stuff, but I think he has been playing some pretty solid ball over here the last couple weeks, especially since he lost to the Bears and Outlaw and stuff. It seemed like he's just kind of stepped his game up, and KC I think has lost a couple of close calls as well. So it's going to be down the wire, but I'm giving the nod to the Raiders.
Yeah, I want to go with KC this time. And they asked me a couple weeks ago, I probably would have went with the Raiders. But just looking at the teams, both teams' remaining schedule, Raiders have a tougher road ahead the last 2 games. And also, the way B-Hog is able to utilize that speed on the outside. He's got a top 5 offense looking right now. And especially his defense, that secondary can be very irritating to play against at times.
Yep, I think both of these teams have quietly put together some really, really good seasons. This is going to be an interesting one. At the time, these teams were super close, but they still are. Pick anyone in the AFC South.
I'm going with the Texans. They had a big game against the Jaguars and they pulled it out, kind of a last second type deal. I know they're tied right now, 8-6 in the division, but I'm giving the nod to the Texans. Just they're kind of riding that momentum coming into the last stretch here.
Yeah, last podcast. I mean, I was going all in for the Titans to grab that division. He took some tough losses the last few weeks. I think he's technically have a shot, but he's on the outside looking in right now. I'm going to go with the Texans as well, just because of the remaining schedule. I think Jags still has to play the Falcons and the Colts, and Texans has to play my Chargers and I guess Falcons as well. So that's going to be tough. A tough schedule going out. But just by flipping a coin, I want to go with Texans to grab that division.
All right, now let's look over at the NFC. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a biased point of view. So, guess what? Maniac, you're going last on this one. Are you going to take the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants?
Yeah, it's tough. That those both great teams. The way they play, different philosophies. I know Cowboys. They thought to take a step back after Dak went down, but he's still trucking along. So again, it's one of those little toss-ups. It could be either one of those teams. But I believe Cowboys does edge in the division race. But look for both of them to compete in the playoffs.
Yep, Maniac, you're not going on this one, so I'm going to take the New York Giants, and the only reason is because of uh, the Prescott, the quarterback, is injured, and so he's playing with the rookie. The rookie did play super well these first couple of games. I think what makes this whole division interesting is what our next subject's going to be on. The Washington Redskins really had an opportunity to make this a super tight race. Let's move over to the NFC North. Maniac, you can go last again on this one. Are you going to take Detroit or the Minnesota Vikings? I even struggle saying the name of the team. I'm still so salty over my real life Saints game. Dawson, who you
Yeah.
taking, the Vikings or the Lions?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Vikings. Looking at the division record, he's undefeated. And I played both of these. I lost to both these teams. But Bill, he pretty much destroyed my offense. My starting quarterback only threw for 7 passing yards. Just saying that, I'm gonna take the Vikings.
That hurts.
Yes, it is very much.
Yeah, I'm going with Bill and the Vikings as well. I did play him a couple of weeks ago. Made it out of the new stadium with a win with the Cowboys with the rookie and stuff. But he was tough. He just kind of had a bad game. And but yeah, this is his division. I picked him to win it. And if he doesn't win it, I'll be shocked immensely.
Yep, a couple of days ago, whenever we made this race was just a little bit tighter. I think the Lions were just one game behind. Now, I don't want to say too much out of respect for my very close friend, Double Zero, coach of the Lions, who, again, has been the only guy that's been with me from day one, 2001, whenever we started this. But he's got some real life issues that are going on that is actually going to pull him away. And so this race is pretty much wrapped up for the Vikings. And that is kind of the take your pick, as we've got some very close races. But thinking back to a team now that we've mentioned several times, the Washington Redskins. Maniac, I want to start with you. Now, you intimately know this team. You've played them twice. Out of nowhere, Jennings had built this really good, strong team that was playing exceptionally well. But the wheels have kind of fallen off here a little bit as we've gotten towards the middle and second half part of this season. So my question to you is, what has happened to the Washington Redskins here in the second half of the season?
Well, and playing him twice, he said, I actually gave him some advice, and it may be paying off. I don't know if he took it. He didn't say much, but with playing him, and maybe I'm giving up too much of the secret and stuff in his offense, but there's no doubt there was no secret that he was feeding Brooks the ball. I mean, he was top in the league in catches, touchdown passes, and stuff. And when I played him, I keyed in on Brooks, and it paid off because I got tons of picks off of him because he was force feeding him. And I sent him a little message afterwards and said, hey, maybe you need to look at spreading the ball around a little bit more, not so much to Brooks, because I'm kind of keying on it. And after that, he's won a couple of good games now. So maybe it was just one of those things where you got your top quarterback, Sparks. He's built immensely through the draft. I think he's done exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And Brooks, but maybe he got to that point where I was just trying to feed the ball to him a little bit too much, and guys were keying in on it and stuff. And now, if he's actually taking that advice and looking otherwhere with the ball spreading around, I think this team is some team that we're going to have to watch in the playoffs because he's going to make some noise.
Dawson, what has happened to the Washington Redskins?
Yeah, I really can't say much on this topic because I've turned. I did a complete 180 compared to last season. Last season I made the playoffs and even won a playoff game, but now this season I'm competing for a top 5 draft pick. But on to the Redskins. I'm not really sure what's going on. I do know that I think his winter break is over, so now he's kind of back to his usual busy work schedule, life. So that might be affecting his gameplay. He did lose 4 in a row. Back in week 14 versus Smash and the Cardinals, he missed a game-winning field goal. So he's been able to compete in those games. It just luck wasn't on his side in those 4 losses. He did get a solid win last week or last night versus the Eagles, and that kind of put him in the driver's seat for that last wild card spot. So it's going to be interesting the last two games to close out the season. He's going to have to win out. He's got two tough teams, Packers and Dolphins. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to win out and get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job with Sparks. Only 15 interceptions on the year. He's also got 120 rushing yards with Sparks, averaging 5.5 yards a carry. Doing not a bad job with Mixon, 840 yards rushing, 4.3 average. Again, Dylan Brooks is playing outstanding, 80 receptions, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. If you look at his defense, he's got a couple of guys. He's got Lofton with 10 sacks already on the year, not too far behind him. Allen's got 7. He's got some guys that have got their hands on the ball a lot. I think, again, a lot of what happens to the Washington Redskins is about what happens to Jennings in real life. He is very, very busy, and it is an honor that he still finds time to stay here, but that also affects some of his gameplay. But I do hope that he's able to put it together, grab a wild card spot, get himself into the playoffs because he deserves it. He's built a really, really fun team here with the Washington Redskins. And a big win against the Eagles, right? Even though the same story could be said about Zip and his Eagles, it's still a big win and a much needed win. So let's look at our last really subject of the day here. We were talking about some different races, and 2 seasons ago in the NFC South, every team finished with a winning record. A couple of 9-7 teams, a couple of, I think there was an 11-win team in there, and then of course the Falcons, I think, is a perennial 13-win season every single season. But this year, the wheels have really fallen off. You got the Atlanta Falcons at 13-1, the Panthers at 5-9, Tampa Bay at 4-10, and then the worst season that I've had in many, 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 many years at 3-11 with 3 starters, 3 very important starters on IR. The wheels have fallen off here in the NFC South. So my question to you and Dawson, I want to start with you, is what has happened to the NFC South?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think it's just kind of the way it kind of flows. Each year, each season, there's a division that's going to just peak out there and going to be the strongest division. Right now, it's been the NFC East this season, and you can even count in last season and the first of the Madden first season back in season 74. You can say it was the South division. But the Falcons, they're their usual self right now. They're, like you said, a 13-win team, majority of this every season. So they're getting ready to try and grab another trophy. The Bucks, are we're going to each division or each team, or are we skipping?
No, however you want to do it.
Okay,
Just
gotcha.
explain
Okay.
to me what happened. What do you think has happened to NFC South? I think the Bucks are one of those more intriguing teams, but has not had a great season.
Yeah, they are very intriguing. I know they kind of ran through a few owners with no Bill leaving the Vikings. Then I think Smash was the Bucks at one point when he moved over to the Cardinals. Tanner, he kind of took it midway through the season, so it's going to be interesting to see how he can compete next season. So I'll be ready for that Bucks team to compete in the South Division. Panthers, I would say this is probably one of the biggest mysteries so far. With Colin, he started out really good that first season. I think he had that first or second seed too. But the last 2 seasons, he just kind of fell off. So not sure if life is just getting busy right now or what. But his offense was lacking. He's ranked 27th in points scored and 20th in total yards. The only kind of glimmer that you can look at right now or light is defensive tackle. Mario Clinton is leading the league with 26 sacks. So he does have a top defensive player that can get up there and rush the quarterback. Saints, again, maybe similar to Colin, just kind of what you mentioned in the chat. I think life outside of Madden is kind of probably spreading you around a bit too much. So you just haven't had the time to practice the gameplay, especially the way EA has kind of fell off and not been able to fix the gameplay, in my opinion. But overall, I still think that division is pretty tough, tough to compete. And if you look at the division record, they're all pretty right there and close. So it's just one of those divisions that just kind of dipped off compared to the first season.
Maniac.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
What's happened to the
Sorry, guys.
NFC South?
The South, basically, I mean, they just ate themselves up. It's a really tough division. Yeah, the records show that they've got 3 teams that are with losing records right now, and they just kind of did like the NFC East did, but it was just. And then when they got out of the division, they had some tough games, losing some close ones and stuff. You got your Saints at 3-11. It doesn't really depict the type of team that you've had on the field. I've watched some of your games and stuff. You've played phenomenal in some games and stuff, and just lose on last second things and fluke plays, and it's been kind of crazy. And then with your injuries and stuff, the Panthers, again, like just to kind of say what Dawson said, it's kind of hard to explain what's happened with the Panthers and stuff, because I mean that first season he was just so dominant, and but he still has got a really good team, a good nucleus and stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with him in this next season, going into season 77. Also with the Bucks, with the new owner, Tanner, he's also in the OMFL 2. He seems to kind of know what he's doing with building a team and stuff. So I'm interested to see what happens when he has a full season underneath his belt with the Buccaneers. And of course, we got Steady Eddie with Dwayne up there at the top with the Falcons, always running the ball, controlling the ball. He has got the team going full force again this season. He's won the division, probably going to wrap up that first seed in the NFC. And who knows with Dwayne? He can be so dominant at times. But I have had some good games against him this year myself. And but it's one of those things where you have to look back kind of the season and see how things went, and it seemed to trickle down from the NFC South eating each other up, and then it just kind of trickled out within outside the division games with losing close ones. And
Yep, I think turnovers are the key for this division, and I think both the Panthers and the Saints had way too many turnovers this year. The Buccaneers are still learning his team. He took over a team that was not built for him, but I know that I've heard a lot of people. I haven't got to play him. I think I may play him before the season's over. I haven't really got to watch any of his games, but I've heard a lot of people tell me that he's super legit, and he will be one of those teams that pushes for this division title. So I'm going to put you both on the spot here before we wrap up the show. Give me your two wild card teams out of the AFC and the NFC. This wasn't on the agenda. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to start leaning into some of these predictions that we'll do for next show. Give me your two wild card teams for the AFC and the NFC. Maniac, will go to you. Let's go with the AFC first.
Yeah, let me let me pull up my chart. Let me pull up my chart here, because
So right now you have the Miami Dolphins winning the AFC East. You have the Kansas City Chiefs winning the AFC West. You have the Cincinnati Bengals leading the AFC North, and you have the Houston Texans leading the AFC South. So who do you think comes away with the two wild cards? You don't have to give me your predictions for the divisions just yet or the playoffs. Just give me your two wild cards out of the AFC.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs will be the wild card, because I do believe the Raiders are going to win that division. I think the Chiefs are going to come out with the top wild card spot, and I'm going to go with the Jaguars bringing up the last wild card spot.
Dawson, who do you think is going to be the two wild card teams out of the AFC?
Well, unfortunately, Tavon had retire at the moment. So hopefully his Steelers, the computer Steelers, won't grab that last wild card
Oh,
spot.
that would be
So
terrible.
I'm going to go with the Raiders and Jaguars.
Raiders and Jaguars. I do hold out a slight hint of hope about Tavon. I've kind of presented a way that if he can make personal life work, that we could kind of work around him and keep him. But he and I will touch base here in another two advances and see if any of that works for him or not. I'd love to keep Tavon, but sometimes life comes first, or it doesn't. Sometimes it always comes first, but it just happens sometimes. And hopefully we won't have to replace Tavon, but if we do, we'll definitely open them up to current OMFL owners first, and then go and get somebody from the OMFL too. And that's why we're so appreciative of Maniac and his team for what they do in OMFL 2, not only to present another really great league here for our community, but also give us really great owners that we already know about as they move up into the OMFL. So now we're going to go to you, Maniac. Give me your two wildcard teams for the NFC.
NFC, it's either going to be the Giants or the Cowboys with that top wild card spot, and then the Redskins. I believe the Redskins are going to have the inside track on that last wild card spot there. So it's going to be the trifecta from the NFC East coming into the playoffs.
Man, if Ducks would have stayed with a team that he built himself with the Rams, the NFC race would be pretty freaking loaded, and that would be a really dangerous playoffs there in the NFC. Dawson, who's your two NFC wildcard teams?
Yeah, I think right now there's only like three teams competing for those two wild card spots. You can add the Rams, but they're again looking on the outside, looking in. Look for the Redskins to win out and grab that wild card spot, as well as the Giants.
There you go. There are your playoff wild card predictions. If you haven't checked it out, Maniac has been doing some really cool stuff that he calls wild cards. So check that out. It's on the blog. I also tweeted them out there. Some really great write ups. Of course, Bill has been helping us keep in the loop of our playoff races as they come here down to the wire. And here in the next 48 to 72 hours, we probably will know a whole lot more about how this playoff race is going to come out. And hopefully by Friday or Saturday, we can do another show right before the playoffs start and give you our playoff predictions. So let's put a nice little bow on it. We were trying to get done by 4 o'clock, and I heard that Maniac's kiddos showed up, and so life has gotten here. We need to put a bow on this and let Maniac go be a great dad. So put your final thoughts on this whole show and everything that we talked about today, Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, I thought it was great. We kind of touched a few of the topics that the close races that are finishing up the season. For the ones that are not in the playoffs or eliminated from playoffs, y'all can get ready for the toilet bowl. It's coming up. I will get with Maniac and see who wants to kind of get that head that up. But as well as test games. I know we was in the talks of moving to all Madden, so we might want to brush up on that and get more people to play test games and get a feel for it.
Maniac, put a bow on today.
Yeah, I think the show was really great. A lot of discussion on some of the top teams. I mean, it's amazing when you start looking at all the stats and the bells and whistles of each and every team, what they're doing behind the scenes and stuff, and you start really digging into that stuff. You see exactly how a team is built and how the coach is working towards their season, trying to get into the playoffs and stuff. You can kind of see how they're working their team, and with OMFL 2, we got really great owners. Really looking forward to getting into the playoffs and moving forward as a league and as a community.
Yeah, and we got 2 or 3 brand new owners sitting in the application chat right now that we're trying to get through the process. Any OMFL board members who get any free time over the next couple of days, help us out, play those guys so we can get their gameplay approved, and that way Maniac can go ahead and get them a team. But the OMFL 2 is growing. The NBC is full, which is a really great thing, and of course the OMFL is full. The Wrestling League is growing, so lots of really great things. Content has taken a dip, so I want to touch on those two subjects really fast. Content has taken a dip this season really hard. So guys, get us some content. We want you to use our incentive plan. If you're new here, you don't know what an incentive plan is, hit one of us up. One of the board members will show you the incentive plan. There's lots of great ways for you to get involved and get rewarded for the involvement that you're in, and you get perks, right? And so make sure that you blast out some content. On the side note, we are monetized right now for a YouTube partner, which means we had enough followers and enough watch time that we could be that, but they have changed it to where we have to have 1,000 followers, and we are nowhere close to that. So that's going to be going away here soon. But that just kind of brings me to another point that I'm going to do my job to produce some content and get more content out there, maybe more content that is just more Madden and WWE based. That's just kind of not specific about our leagues, just to kind of start to get our name out there, help us follow and subscribe to our stuff, and just promote the stuff that we're putting out there so we get more followers and get back to being another YouTube partner. So it's been a really great show. The last subject I want to hit on, though, is what Dawson brought up about all Madden. I really do feel like Maniac has helped us find a really nice set of sliders that makes All Pro feel good finally. Still needs some tweaking, but what we've done is we've allowed both OMFL and OMFL2 to have the exact same sliders, and so we can look at how those games are actually playing and adjust from there. So Maniac, that's a reminder. If any adjustments need to be made, make sure you go ahead and make those. But we are kind of adjusting that on the fly, so I'm not putting as much pressure about test games this offseason as I have in the past, because I think we may have found a nice way to continue to adjust as we go. I will be making some slight different adjustments. I think where we're mostly different is when it comes to special teams. I think that I am going to really dip down low on field goal accuracy. Right now, it's pretty much a given that if you have the leg power for a 55, 56-yard field goal, you're going to hit it every time, no matter how far away you get from that little accuracy button. And so I want to bring accuracy down to where kicking field goals is an actual skill that we all have to work on, and having a good kicker with good accuracy is going to help you with that. So, man, it's been a really great show. Go ahead, Maniac.
No, I said that. Yeah, that sounds really good because, the special teams can be a big deal, and right now, like you said, it's kind of a too easy type of deal, and kind of takes away from the excitement of the game.
Yeah, and we may do just slightly more with punt accuracy, even though right now it is still pretty hard. But may go down just a little bit with punt accuracy, but look for field goal accuracy next season to take a pretty dramatic dip. And if it's too far, we will go right back up. But lots of fun stuff coming up. I'm super excited. The draft's going to be here before we know it. I do have to go to Dallas next week, but I think that while I'm gone, the playoffs will wrap up. And who knows, maybe next weekend, in 2 Saturdays from now or whatever, 2 Sundays from now, we'll be having another draft show. It's always one of the best things that we do, one of the most fun things that we do, and I'm super excited about that. And who knows, man, this is the type of the year as football begins to wrap up where we get some surprises here. Some other teams finally build their teams and they step up. Old faces usually start getting the itch again to play. They start popping back up, and we really hit our stride as we get into the summer months and get some sun on us. So I'm super excited about what's coming. So for Maniac, for Dawson, for all the leadership here in the OMFL, thank you so much for tuning in to our show. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Later, guys.
Dilly dilly.